first thing, if you didn't have any bad luck, you probably wouldn't have any luck at all at this point. You're scheduled to face Ryan Couture at UFC 164, but due to your hand injury, that won't be happening. Just talk about how the hand injury happened.
Well, I was sparring on Tuesday morning. That's the usual sparring time at Jackson's. And it was like my second 5-minute round, and I don't know, really, it didn't seem like it should have broken, but I threw an overhand right, and it connected a little high in the person's head. So, they tucked their chin, and it landed a little bit above the ear. And I just knew immediately the moment it landed, it was just done. I took off my glove, and my hand was all misshapen, and there was a big bump in the in the middle of it.
Wow.
And it was one of those things, like he wasn't wearing headgear, but all the same, it didn't seem like it should have broken. It landed a little bit sideways, as sometimes overhand rights do, where it didn't land like flush square on the front of the fist. It landed a little bit on the index knuckle, sideways.
Sure.
But my theory right now is that it had been fractured for a while, maybe some kind of hairline fracture, and this was just sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. That's kind of what makes sense to me, but I don't know for sure.
So when you guys are you guys sparring 5 days a week?
The kind of sparring we do 2 to 3 times a week. So it's usually, at Jackson's anyway, it's Tuesday and Thursday mornings, and then maybe one other day you'll spar like that, where you have, the full kickboxing gear on, and you're going to do full MMA sparring with big gloves.
Well, let's just go back in history a little bit. You made your Octagon debut against Rick Story in Montreal, Canada. Just talk about the experience of your first UFC fight.
Sure. Obviously, not as good of an experience as I would have liked. But, the show itself, in terms of the size of the show, it didn't seem like completely overwhelming or anything like that. Mentally, I ended up being in a pretty decent place, in that fight, and I think part of that was because Strikeforce had kind of eased me into a bigger show. I still have this problem with starting slow, and I think I freeze up a little bit in the early part of the early rounds. That's something that's kind of plagued me my whole career. I'm working on. The other thing is that, it really was it kind of gave me this pretty real incentive to cut to 155. Or basically, not having many chances left to make my name in the UFC, I realized that it was about time I made that cut, So it's a few days after the fight, that's really what I decided on, and I figured some things out, talked to some people, and started to get ready. I did a practice cut pretty much after that fight to see if I could do it, and I made it, and so I guess the silver lining to that whole thing was that it just really prodded me to finally cut to a lightweight, the lightweight class, which is something I've been intending to do for years. And just never had the right motivation to do it.
Okay, man, let's jump back to this Ryan Couture thing for a minute. If the injury didn't happen, how would you have seen this fight going down?
And, Ryan's obviously tough, and like everybody in the UFC, right? But, I think one thing is I have almost 3 times as many fights as he does. I feel like that experience makes a big difference. And I feel like where the fight was probably going to go on the ground, I have better skills. I think I could have beaten him on the ground and submitted him. Obviously, the guy's slick. He has some tricks up his sleeve, but I just felt like, in my gut, I would beat him there.
Okay, man. So taking your spot as Al Iaquinta, how'd you see this fight going down between him and Couture?
Oh man, I'm sorry. I haven't really been paying attention. Since my hand got injured, I've been, basically eating carbs for the last like
Right.
48 hours. You know, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know really much about Alia's style. I think Couture, when he has a good game plan, he has a good chance of winning. I think sometimes he doesn't mount like a very good stand-up offense. A lot of his stand-up is just setting up his takedown, and that's like kind of his problem. So he's to be careful of like heavy strikers, like happened with Pearson. But yeah, I don't really have an opinion on that one yet.
Okay, man. Is this a fight you still would like to get if you heal up good and Couture has his fight? Say he gets the victory. Would you still like to have that fight?
Oh, hell yeah, absolutely. I hope Couture beats him, I hope he gets him to the right, It felt like a really good fight for me, a good matchup, It's just one of those things, like, the stars felt like they aligned on the day I got that fight, So it was real disappointing not to have it. And so, yeah, it would be great if I could heal up and maybe I could face Ryan for his, his third fight in the UFC.
Yeah, man, you've had some really rough luck, like we had mentioned on this, but even back in September, right? That fight falling through for you, the whole card falling through, actually. So you've only had one fight in the last year, pretty much. That's got to be a little rough, eh?
It's definitely rough. Yeah, I'm used to
Yeah.
when I started fighting. Obviously, it was on smaller shows, but I was fighting 6 times a year sometimes,
Yeah.
and that it keeps you sharp. And um, yeah, I think it keeps you don't have any ring rust. And right now, it's like it's hard. It's hard not to have ring rust, right? Yeah, it's. But you know what? Like the luck thing, it's the way it goes. I mean, I can't sit here and go woe is me for too long. I'm probably gonna feel
Yeah.
sorry for myself for about another 5 days. That's like kind of my
Sure.
game plan with feeling sorry for myself, and then after that, I'm gonna figure out the best way to train while my hand is injured, and just make a plan basically. There's nothing else we can do when bad luck comes our way.
Well, thanks for doing this. We appreciate you taking the
Of
time.
course.
Would you like to throw out anything such as your Twitter or Facebook?
Sure. Twitter is Q Mulhern.
Okay, Q Mulhern. Good stuff, man. Well, thanks again for doing this, and heal up soon,
Thank
man.
you so much, man. Have a great day.